learned from the lesson. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a little, but I still reinvest it. Fear how I feel, then you feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down, hold it down, we gon' get it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got your watch list coming in on May 20th, 2020, and the stock market is going crazy. It's happening now. This isn't a future forecast or anything. Today was crazy, and it brings up a lot of stuff that it could tell us about the future, but a lot happened today, and it's going to really categorize a lot of, I think, this week's move, but also kind of what to expect in a broader sense. So I want to go over all of it. There was a lot of different things from the vaccine with Myrna that brought us up. Remember, we had a 900-point day yesterday. We dropped and closed down 390 points. We're falling a little bit after hours, but that vaccine that contributed to some of those gains, there was a problem with that. We heard more from Jerome Powell today, and it was a very, very long Senate Banking Committee. Thankfully for you, I sit through there with my good friend Chad for a very, very long time every day, and we listened through all of it so we could just summarize it up for you. So I have that for you, and it brings up some good points that you guys could even look into and kind of even understand with what's going on, the response, and even the broader economy, as well as just even how the markets are reacting. And then a few different plays that we made today, a lot of moves, again, a lot of news, a lot of action from Mr. Trumper down to individual companies, deals. You still had earnings, Walmart, HD, all of that. So it's a lot of stuff, and we have a lot to go over. So you guys know what you need to do. Drop your thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. It's the first link in the description, and it is pinned in the comments. We better see you there in the morning. It's free $99. It costs you nothing to join. YouTube.com/the stock market. You could join, post the plays, post any, ask questions, everything. All we ask is that you're positive and respectful. So hopefully we see you there. First link in the description. Today was a lot of fun. And again, that's where you want to, some people say, where to get the news. A lot of the news. One, we knew news, and we cover it here on the watch list too if you ever miss anything on that stream, but also at the same time, live in real time. Shout out to Chad. I had the Shopify news yesterday. Chad fed me the Shopify news today, so we had another play on that. It was exciting. So hopefully we see you there, and shout out everybody posting all the information, sourcing it. I love you, baby. Let's go. I'm sorry, we don't want to make the new cult members uncomfortable with too much hopium, but right off the bat, it's a giant biotech. This is what I'm trying to explain here with the market. We could go over and look at the individual moves, but this is what you need to understand. Okay, I mean, I'll switch back over to the screen, and you could see, yes, the stock market is moving, and it's doing this thing, and you're looking at the S&P 500. It's like a broader market. It is a broader market, but what I'm trying to say is if you really just change, if I said this was Myrna, I'm not going to press enter, but if I said this was Myrna instead of the S&P, it looks very, very similar. And what I'm saying is that we've been talking about this since Guild, since this just notion that this is this biotech gold rush. There's a big incentive economically, politically, power, a lot of things from whoever gets this virus. And again, turning to the private market, that it makes sense with what we're seeing here. But now the market will respond accordingly. So, again, if any good and bad news. So that's the main point, and that's what happened today. I don't have the exact news for it, but there was another study that came out or a response that the Myrna trial wasn't, again, same exact thing you hear with Guild. Again, we get one breakthrough, everybody has a lot of exuberance about it, and then what happens the next day? Oh, the trial wasn't good enough, or this trial wasn't this, and that makes sense. This is a process that should take much, much longer, so every trial is going to be like that. And again, nothing you could do to change that. I'm just saying that so that you could understand these responses and then understand how the market will move in the broader sense. So that is even going to lead us to the plays. I'm going to talk about it, even selling premium and even now expecting volatility, or it's like, is this going to be it? We're going to talk about that, and again, all of this stuff we're hearing from Senate and everything else. So there was that, but then Powell will summarize that, but him and Mnuchin were talking for a long time, but then a lot of Trump was doing, he had the farmers, I forgot, it was like Ziggy or somebody like that was on there, and Sonny, I know Sonny, but he was talking with the farmers. Then he had this other meeting, I was a cabinet meeting, and then they were out there, but we heard it, and then he even came and did a quick one. He said a lot of stuff, but now really the thing I got from that, there was two main things, and one was this very broad executive order that he gave, and pretty much this was at the end of the day. He signed into action an executive order, literally to roll back restrictions to restart. It was literally, I'm pretty sure that's what he said, but it was so far, and I'm saying initially now with what I know too, I have to look more into this. And I'm sure we'll get more specifics, but really what I'm drawing out of it now is that it was very vague, but in that essence, it is specific. By giving a very broad executive order and going out and do this, I think they're saying just do anything. And and kind of they want to limit liability, and that has been an issue. So that's telling you something to the actions that are being taken, but now apply that to economy. Now, remember, we were caught off guard when the market started dropping. Nobody knew what the hell this was, how to respond. Was this real? Now, everybody is in damage control. So the next stage of the economy, recession, the stock market, it's really going to boil down to how well did we respond now. So we got caught slipping, 1 point corona, 0 points stock market, government preparedness. So now this is coming in now. What's going to happen? How are we going to handle this, and what's going to move forward? So this is what I'm saying. Try to understand the market's going crazy right now, but this is how you could try to understand these broader moves in context. So pretty much they're trying to allow companies, and they're trying to roll back a lot of stuff. And that was the very important thing, but there was a lack of information, but I think it has that information in and of itself. But then after hours now, because during that speech, and this is why I bought my YY play, I got to put on a Chinese company. Again, we've been talking about that, but Kudlow walked back Trump's comments. Trump was saying stuff, and it pretty much sounded like there's going to be problems with China, but Kudlow said that China needs to be held accountable, and he said that they put Trump in a bad place. And he's like, pretty much, Mans was not saying we're ripping up the deal. He was just saying it's a problem. Now, I said I disagree with that, but Trump made a comment about it, and now Kudlow walked it back, but it seems like that tension with China is increasing. So I'm making my wager with these plays because I think it's going to lead to something. Again, the timing and when that is, I don't know. And so far, I've been mad early, and that still holds true. Even if I'm like, okay, we're seeing escalation, but it's like we're seeing little pieces. However, it really has not escalated. I'm seeing signals. And again, this makes a lot of sense. Hopefully you guys realize, I make these videos even as my diary and my journal too. So when I'm looking back at this and I'm like, well, I've been very, very early on this. This stuff keeps coming up, but it hasn't really escalated to a point. There's been the Huawei stuff, and I guess some of the actions have escalated, and they're talking like that, but it's getting to the point where it's hot, but it's not really at the boiling point yet. But that being said, though, I'm early and I'm scaling in, but I do have to be able to control that. So that is something I'm looking for. And again, I think that will affect the market here in the broader sense. And then now the main thing that we got, even again, another thing they announced after hours is they're doing these stimulus debit cards, literally a Visa gift card that they're going to send out to people to allow them to have some of this stimulus money. Now, this is very important, and it makes sense with everything they were talking about with Powell. So if you didn't want to listen to that whole Powell thing, I know it's boring, but I really love Powell. I think he's a great guy. You should really listen to him sometime. He's great. But at the end of the day, the main important questions, yes, senators were grilling him. They were going back and forth. There's a lot of drama and beef, not as much as some of the ones in the past. However, the main thing they really discussed, or the information I was looking for, was the Main Street lending facility. And the information I got out of it is that there was a lot of jawboning, in the sense that they were doing a lot more talking. When they said we're going to do this Main Street lending facility, the primary dealer credit facilities, all of this stuff, even the bonds, a lot of this stuff didn't come into action until recently, and they still haven't done some of it. And so it's interesting because the markets got stabilized off of that tool, and that is a tool of the Fed talking, and that's why credibility is so important, because it worked. I hope you guys see that right now, and that's the information we're learning from this whole meeting. But the question is, Main Street lending facility, what is that? There is Wall Street, and then there is Main Street. You are Main Street. If you are not a big bank, if you do not have access to certain banking products or loans or money or loans at a certain interest rate, or if you cannot sell government securities, that is the main standard that they say. So if you cannot sell government-backed bonds, like if you can't hold an auction for the government, you are not a real bank. Okay, okay, that was a little harsh. I'm sorry. I know some of you shout out, sorry, lending tips, but that is the Wall Street versus Main Street. Main Street is pretty much small businesses and everybody else, the Main Street. It kind of makes sense. So why is that important? How does that even link with the debit cards? Is that all of this equals all of the questions they're asking, and even the answers given, is it's revolving around this, is how are we going to get money to the people who are not the rich ones, or extremely rich, or have this easy access or easily accessible. And again, that's the thing, is that most people are not as accessible as you think. I don't know, it's like 50%. Remember, they said we did 140 million people got the checks, but now there's people who couldn't get their banking stuff. People or small businesses. Some people are mad. They're like, I can't get this, but maybe you didn't file correctly, or there's certain things that are missing, or it's a back address. Again, this is the government. You're asking just picture the DMV sending you a bunch of stuff. This is the DMV. I don't want to knock them that bad, but this is the management we're dealing with. And again, that's just the nature of what it is. So getting money to people, this is the main thing. Mnuchin's doing his thing. They're doing these debit cards because now what I got out of this is that they're expecting now, and this is what I'm saying. This is now we're seeing them response. It's like they're getting ready by having debit cards. And okay, they're like, boom, we know who we could deposit money to. What's the next step? Let's get debit cards to everybody. They could just reload that whenever they want. So if they really want to get more and more stimulus now it's not a question of how are we going to get it there. It's actually going to be easy to get there. Now, then they're asking Powell, and Powell's explaining the process of how we're going to start, and the Fed is going to be able to give money and give loans to small businesses and other institutions, or literally, this is what Powell's saying, anybody of their choosing, and this is not normal. This is not how the Fed works. I know you guys like to say that the Fed is printing the money, doing all this, crazy stuff, monopoly or manipulation. And I'm not saying it is or isn't, but the Fed had very strict rules of how they could give money out, who they could loan it to, and what they need to. So now, given this circumstance, they're setting up a system to do something they really never have, and that's get money to anybody wherever they see fit. And that's what they're setting up. And this whole Main Street lending facility, these debit cards, everything so far, even today, and even the answers we're getting, the thing we're looking for is how do we get positioned, literal positioning now. It's like you're in the middle of this economic fallout or everything caused by this, whatever you want to call it, but they're getting positioned now. Again, stuff like debit cards is easily reloaded. Main Street lending facility. So now they're setting up everything so that if a problem does occur, they don't need to go to Congress and this and that. They're ready to start shooting off. They're getting the green light. So this is very important. That is pretty much the summary of it all, though, and what I got out of it today and what a lot of the stuff was discussed. And pretty much a lot of this stuff this week, these talks, these comments, and then implementation of policy and this and that, maybe some of these speeches, you're going to see a lot of that. So watch out for news-driven moves, but still keep in mind that the market's moving like a biotech. It's going to react to news like that, and depending on the news and the scope of it and what it's related to, the vaccine, money, banks, bailouts, bankruptcies, all that stuff, that is what's going to be important. So that is pretty much it. Hopefully that helped, but let us get into the plays. So right off the bat, we made a few different plays today. We had plays from yesterday, and hopefully you guys saw it. That Shopify play, I don't have it on here, but the Facebook and Shopify, if you guys remember that one from yesterday, we sold out of that play. We did a bunch of different plays on here. So I sold out of 3 of those today. Remember, we bought 4 of them yesterday at $1.45. They were at like 3 something, but then I was like a minute or two late reacting to the counter news. We ended up getting a call, the 900 call. But the whole thing is, go watch yesterday's watch list, and if you watch the stream, this play was very, very easily telegraphed. Well, we slipped into some information is what I'll call it. And again, I documented this yesterday. We were saying, well, maybe it was priced in. My theory was it wasn't, because it was the day before earnings, so the stock went up a lot. So that's exactly what happened today throughout the middle of the day. Let's throw up Shopify pretty much out of nowhere, but not out of nowhere. Literally 10 minutes after we were expecting this, Facebook had that call. They announced these new features, these new updates, and then boom, Shopify started dropping. But then what started happening, it quickly went up after 2 minutes of that, simply because they announced, and then the Shopify CEO went on the Facebook thing, and then they partnered up with them. So that's what sent it up. So that's what happened, is that I sold 3 of 4, got my initial investment back with some profit. I held one of those puts, but then I spent some of the profit I got from that play, and then I threw it into a call, and I was up on that. We got it for $250. It's at like 3 or 4 right now, I think, or something like that. But that was that first play, and that's why we got into it. Then the next play, again, about a few hours later, and that's what I'm saying, today was crazy. There's all the events, and then we got this. This was now another news play. We went quickly, but Spotify was already up, and I think the news dropped, but then I think it popped when Joe Rogan posted it, and then a lot more people started talking about it. But Shopify was already up. I think it was up like 4% at the time, around the time Joe Rogan posted it. But that's what happened. Joe Rogan signed an exclusive deal with Spotify, and remember, we bought our shares of that yesterday. But he posted that, and it's very big. He's doing a deal where they're taking the Joe Rogan podcast after September 1st. They're going to start it with on Spotify with free video, but then at the end of the year, it will only be exclusively on Spotify. And then he still said that they'll be posting clips on YouTube, but the full podcast will be exclusively on Spotify. So this was huge for him. I mean, he's a big player. That's a big deal. It's taken away a lot. And again, this could start another streaming wars V2, but now with music providers. But even then, or even to YouTubers and other, it's honestly a little bit crazy when you think about it. So it was big, and the stock, got a 4% boost off of it. But then at the same time, even when the market started going down, it held up. So I like that. We've had this in the long-term portfolio. We've talked about it. So even my long-term take on this company is that it's still the same thing I view it as, but now even better. Like, this just solidified my long-term thesis that Spotify is going to be around for a long time. Again, getting an asset like Rogan like that, again, it probably costs them money, but I'm sure in the long run, they're probably going to make a lot more off of Rogan than Rogan will make off of them. So good work, Spotify. Good work, Spotify. If you want to sign the call, we're up for 120 billion. We do accept likes as payment. But that was the play. But what happened, though, so as that news was dropping at 239, I think that's the first candle, like right in here. Actually, it hit the first candle. It started coming down. And then I was kind of bummed when I got the play because this was snaking the chain. We talked about this. I posted the video afterwards. But how did I know it was going to go up? I knew that was good news. But why did I go to choose the options if I already had the shares? It was because the option chain started freaking out. So if you go look at my video, it's called How I Beat the Market Maker. Posted about like 6 or 9 months ago. And it's how you could view when certain news drops, the option chain, the market makers, that was what I call protect themselves, is that they widen the spreads or they go to a specific number, $1.80 or $4.80. Again, watch the video, you'll see. But that's what started happening as the news was dropping. The stock did have a big candle. But what, led this follow through and what made me think there would be a good play or that the contracts could have been mispriced was that the market makers started spazzing out, and that was letting me know that, okay, something's changing in value, and even they recognize it, but they don't know, but they widen the spreads to protect themselves and give them a buffer. That's what any bank or liquidity provider does in times of uncertainty. So that is literally what occurred. And then I snagged these July contracts. So it's a lot of time. I grabbed 5 of them at 55 cents. So it's like $250, a little bit more. And then it started to shoot up. I guess, it's like a 20-minute trade. And this was a day trade. I didn't really need to, but what made me do it was as the market was reacting to the Moderna stuff. And then Trump was signing the executive order. He said some of those other comments too. But I was like, well, I don't know if it's going to hold up. It held up better than I expected. But I said, well, won't hurt July. I could go sell out now, make the play free, get all of my money back, get profit, and then just hold these two till July. So I'm probably going to hold this for at least a month, and then we have our other shares, because that's the thing. I might even exercise these. Let's say, honestly, I just paid $100 for these. You guys know I'm a Spotify log holder. Let's say by July, Spotify just goes insane, or maybe they announce anything else. Who knows, right? But it does go crazy, and why I'm bringing this up is just because, one, I'm going to play it for the value. You guys know my strategy trading options, but I also want you to understand how to think about contracts. This is how you could use them. I mean, I would go buy, like literally, if I wanted to take a big position, in a company, this would be like a $30,000 position. But again, if a growth stock like Spotify went crazy, you could really save a lot of money and do a lot of damage even for the long term. So it's great. But that was the other play we played. I tried to snake the chain on TMUS, and you guys could even see here, I set my limits, 5 cents, 10 cents. There was volatility. Then after that, I walked away. That's one thing to notice with snaking the chain. You set your budget. You got to see the prices. It's not a game to chase because if the market maker thinks uncertainty, you should be thinking uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen. So that's just a cool little cancel play you could see. And then as Trump was saying that stuff, I got these. I think I spent a little bit too much. And then I also grabbed a Pinterest play early in the morning. But I grabbed YY, and I didn't know they have earnings, so that's what's going to suck. I forgot about that. They've been running up into it. I didn't think about it. I forgot we're in earnings mode, so maybe we could benefit off of this, but I got it just with time to play the news, so maybe it's a double whammy in that sense. But why am I like, I should have thought about it? Because chances are I could have paid a lot more for an out of the money than I had to, because this one's really far out of the money because earnings. So let's see. We'll see what could happen. I get a double whammy, but chances are I overpaid for that because of the earnings. So got 3 of those, 180 or so bucks. Going to be holding those. Again, that is to hold until that China thesis comes to life. And then the Pinterest is the one I got this morning. They announced the deal with Microsoft. They had a huge run up. They ended up coming down again with the market. They didn't hold up. This is what I was worried about with those Spotifys. So that's why I said I'd take it. And then there was that volatility. And even then on the Shopifys too, why did I sell at 250? There's a lot of both Spotify, Pinterest, because the Pinterest went up. A lot of these plays, you got to really see volatility really affect these contracts, and even playing the news. And even with Shopify, I sold those 3. I told you guys yesterday, it could be one of those buy the rumor, sell the news, but there's going to be more premium in the news. And again, there was a reverse piece of news that made it go up. So understand that. But I grabbed these Pinterest. I got 3 of these at 50 cents. And these are the plays, and I'll tell you right now, these are what you're going to blow your account up on. That's what I was thinking about. Like, this one's a little bit better, But this one, I mean, it's Pinterest, but some of these pops, and why I say that is because I bought more than one. These plays, you don't need to buy more than one. So that's why I'm like, I need to just get one of these or try to keep it amount, especially if it's a smaller account, until we have news. This one's good for earnings and a thesis, but just keep that in mind. And then finally, we have the small Robinhood account. We did pretty good today. We made $50. We're up a lot more. These contracts were up a lot more. Remember, we bought these yesterday. This was because of the Facebook Shopify thing. Got these at 22 cents. They closed at 65 cents, but they went up to $1.20. So I said I'm going to ride these out. They have a little bit of time, but we talked about this on stream. So I think I'm going to hold it out, but I should have sold it because I made another play and I grabbed this Apple put here towards the end of the day. Bought it for $29. 275 put next week. Again, going small on these, but these are a little bit more gambling. And then the UNHs, they were up a little bit in the morning, but then they just started selling off. So we're going to be down on that, but now controlling the balance. Again, we're doing the small account here, so we're messing around with it, but I have to be able to, I should have took profit on the Facebook, but I'm going to have to do something with that, but we'll see how these Apples pay us out. But if Apple goes up, we got to make a move somehow because I'm only down to that last $50 of cash in there. So remember, I can't add any more money till the end of the month or the beginning of the new month. So this is what we mean by setting a balance and budget. You could trade small. And again, and I said this, just know the difference when I'm gambling or not. And I'm going to take gambles on this account. That's just kind of even the nature of it. But what I'm saying is that I just need to put smaller plays. And that is going to be the key with this small account. You guys will see. So there is that, and I think that's pretty much it. Again, all the other plays that we made today, what I would even look at, and actually this is the final point I'll even say for you guys, it's just even what I'm going to be looking for the rest of this week. Again, I'm going to be holding those plays. Those are the plays we made, really writing all of these out, reacting to the news, but I want to watch Microsoft and Apple because in this volatility, the SPY puts and even the UVXY, I don't know how I feel about the premium, and I'm not feeling them just yet. And I'm going to watch Microsoft and Apple, but don't get pump faked. Look for premium selling, or excuse me, that's what I'm going to be looking for. That's what I need to, because I'm not even saying, well, you read the disclaimer, option trading, again, those almost financial thank you for that. But I'm literally saying, I'm like, I need to sell premium here because even if we get a little of this volatility, it comes back. They're getting ready for something, but something big has to happen if we're going to test any of those big lows there. Remember how late we reacted. This virus was spreading. We reacted very, very late. Took a lot when people were kind of calm. So just think about that. We didn't evolve that fast. So that's why I'm saying premium here, because I'm like, well, the volatility is going to be high even if it moves. As long as there's a decent enough amount of time, I think it's going to make big moves up, down, but kind of just stay in a range until we see, when we're able to evaluate, okay, this was the first response by the government, the Fed, did it work or not? Then that will justify new lows or not. So that is pretty much it as far as everything else. Again, these are all the companies we played in that we're looking at. Watch Myrna again. We talked about the puts. I think they went up a little bit more, but most of the day, the puts to like here, when the stock was like here, they like broke even again. And maybe we should look at those because this is what I was saying yesterday. I said I wanted the puts and we talked about this, but what was the issue? I said there's going to be high premium. Again, we're not the only ones to expect this. So if it costed too much, that could have been a problem. And this is where, they closed up 30% from yesterday, but this is what I'm saying. From the morning, even as the stock was dropping, this was like a reverse frog. Some of you would have been so pissed. Imagine you bought it in the morning, it drops, but then what happens? The stock just keeps coming down, but your put loses value. So even some of these, these ended up frogging because they were in the money and they got deep in the money, but you like barely doubled up off of a 15% stock move. The premium was high. Oh, did those frog? So the out of the monies look like they frogged a little. No, but even in the money, these were awful. These contracts still lost at the end of the day. So you could even see, kind of, right? $1.62. It's just, you got to be careful with that, but watch them. We're going to see, again, any of these biotechs are going to be the ones to look at. Watch HD and Walmart. They had their earnings. Remember, we sold out of the HDs yesterday. Still holding that last one, but they moved within expected, and this is what I'm even saying for premium selling, because even Walmart and HD, they had great run-ups, but they all just fell in line with their ranges. So maybe that's for NVIDIA. I don't want to get pump faked, but Inovio, another one, again, in relation to the biotechs. I'm going to be watching Caterpillar. I like them. Again, they could be affected with both the trade war stocks, and even if the market does get volatile, what do I want to do? But this could even be a good premium sell. But Caterpillar got my eye. I haven't really paid it attention, but surprisingly, that's one that could move, and the premiums are either really expensive on it or really cheap. You just got to get it at the right time. Said Apple, Microsoft, all that, and then NVIDIA for the premium for earnings. Still just keeping my eye out, but they've been holding up. I'm nervous on it, but I think I have a general idea of it. I still got to look at the chain and go from there. But there's that. TLT, watch TLT. Again, with any of this volatility and real stuff, just look where we're at. And maybe even then, another thing I'm keeping in mind is if TLT has a fat blowout on the reverse, if you see bonds sell off, that could also be a sign of a problem with liquidation needs or people needing liquidity. So big moves in TLT, but if TLT and bonds are stable, it's not telling you too much. So I hope this helps. I hope you guys are ready, but that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're hydrated, healthy, ready to go. Make sure you post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. I need you to control the budgets. Remember what we said yesterday. You're seeing it today. Go small and take the pressure off. Relax. If you got a clear mind, you will make clearer decisions. Trust me. Just try it for a week, baby. But just control the budget, if anything. Okay, all right. Yeah, but the code loves you. I love you. I'm going to see you in the morning. Let's go.